I am so delighted to be here. I'm glad that I get to make a contribution to your event, and I've got a very short time to make a big difference. I want to give you some great strategies that are going to help transform your leadership and prepare you to build a great team. I want to give you some provocative ideas that stock you well for the discussion that's going to follow my remarks. So strap in, get ready. I'm going to move pretty fast here. I want to equip and encourage you to go the country mile for your team in terms of their development. And can I just tell you how much I love that term, to go the country mile, because the idea of a country mile, one that's more expansive, it's wider than a city mile, conveys to me that you want to be extravagant in your commitment to your team's growth. And I love the fact that you didn't say go the extra mile. I know that might sound similar, but going the extra mile sounds different to me. When you say something's extra, you're communicating that it's an add-on, that it's over and above something, that it's sort of icing on the cake. And well, when it comes to developing your team, helping people grow, that's never an add-on to leadership. Being a great leader means being a great developer. We learned long ago that people's growth, the prospect of their development, is tangled up in all the right ways with their motivation, with their performance, with their persistence and their engagement. So when you prioritize the growth of your team, you're prioritizing success. Managers that think of their team's growth or team development as sort of an add-on, well, they do it rarely or poorly. They spend all their time prioritizing the items on their endless to-do list, and they just never get around to really focusing on the growth of their team. They might do it now and then if maybe somebody's job is in danger, or at a certain time of year when the company is making a lot of noise about doing it. But in general, their leadership doesn't prioritize the growth of their team. Now, I know it's easy for you to think about growing your team because few companies that I've worked for have ever been as clear and consistent about declaring that their people are a top priority as yours. But I also know that it's not your only priority. Your Life Out Here strategy includes really high aspirations for increasing your market share, for increasing the number of stores you have, for increasing the impact that you have on community and culture. And so I know that in your position, you've got a lot of priorities. And when all those priorities are clamoring for your attention, you've got to make some serious choices about where you're going to spend your time, where you're going to spend your attention. And I want to take a moment before I talk about how to change your leadership so that it develops your people, to just shoring up your confidence that making that kind of choice is worth your time. As I know in my own life, there are times that I'm busy, I have a lot of things to accomplish, and I'm not sure I really want to pursue that conversation right now. I'm not sure I want to send that email, return that phone call, have another Zoom meeting, because I've got so many things on my plate. And I want to share with you, just leader to leader, some reasons why prioritizing the growth of your team is a good move and it's a worthy investment of your precious minutes. The first reason that it's worth your time is that prioritizing the growth of your team distinguishes you and your leadership. It turns out that great leaders are always good developers. In fact, developing your people, helping people be stronger and better, may be the telltale hallmark of leadership. It's not that you can check things off, that you can get things done. Honestly, all kinds of everyday people manage to do that. But the people that we call leaders, they have a way of doing that and elevating and strengthening the people around them in the process. In fact, here's a tip for you. If you want to identify leaders in your organization or outside your organization, don't just look for the people that are getting the work done. Look for men and women that are making others better in the process. That's why it distinguishes people. And think of it this way, your ability to develop your own people, to make your people better, distinguishes you as well. It clarifies that you're a capable leader, and it communicates that you're ready to rise to the next level in your organization. An organization that prioritizes providing legendary service knows that top leaders, higher level leaders in the organization have to be tuned in and talented at developing the people that are going to provide it. So when developing people is integral to the strategy, your ability to grow your people or make your team better makes you integral as well. And failing to do so actually tempers your ability. It might make it less likely for you to rise and derail or even plateau your own career advancement. Another reason that it's worth your investment to grow your people is that it doesn't just distinguish you and your leadership, it increases the capacity and the engagement of your team. I guess it's not really a surprise to recognize that the capacity of your team, its ability to do things, is benefited when you can give it more knowledge, more skills, and more experience. But we're learning more and more that engagement, that fire in the belly, that higher sense of ownership and initiative that we all want in our people and teams, engagement is also strongly affected by an emphasis on development. That's because people want to be involved in things that make them better. When they know that their task, their work is going to make them better, they give themselves to it more enthusiastically. For that reason, the prospect of growth can transform a task from drudgery into an opportunity. I experienced this myself the other day. It was a Saturday and I had some things to get done. Honestly, I had some chores to do before I could get on to the things that I really wanted to do. And my day started out with feeding my chickens. So I made a trip out to my local Tractor Supply store. I go to the one that's out in Triune, Tennessee here, and I started to select bags of chicken feed. I don't go for the 40-pound bags, I go for the 50-pound bags, right? And I was picking them up one at a time, and I carried them out to the truck and I loaded them into the truck one at a time, and I was hating this. This was pure drudgery because it was such a chore. I drove them home and I unloaded all of those bags, and then I took them to the shed, and I gotta tell you, I just couldn't wait for this to be over. I mean, this was just the typical hard work sort of chores that you do on a daily basis. But when it was finished, I was pretty excited because I got to go do something that I wanted to do. I went to the gym. And as I came into the gym and I sort of set up and I was going through my workout, I was lifting weights and kind of getting in shape, and I was really into it. I was fired up because I had been looking forward to this and accomplishing these goals all day long. And it dawned on me that there was really an important difference between these two experiences. You can look at the chore that I was doing in the morning compared to the activity I was doing in the afternoon. They look remarkably similar. In both cases, I was just moving weights from here to there. But the difference was, in the afternoon, I was doing it because it benefited me. I was fired up and into it because the prospect of my own growth was on the table. I knew that if I worked hard at this and gave myself to it fully, it would make me better. My attitude towards it was far different than to the chores I was doing in the morning. It was the difference between work and working out. I just want to suggest to you that your emphasis on your team's development, your ability to make the prospect of people's growth present in your everyday leadership, can fire them up and make them look at their tasks as opportunities and do it more enthusiastically, carry the load more generously and enthusiastically. And finally, the third reason that I'd throw at you to say why prioritizing your people's growth is worth the investment on your part is that it helps you attract and keep the best. Helps you attract and keep the best. It turns out that the opportunity to grow is an important factor when people decide where they want to work. In fact, it's emerging as probably the foremost driver of those choices in millennials and Generation Z. That means they're looking for opportunities that are going to help them grow. And when you talk about development, it's like a corporate tell about your commitment to people. When I say a tell, I mean it's like in poker where you might have a particular behavior or a twitch, or you might scratch your face, but it betrays your real feelings, your real hand. Similarly, when you talk about development, when you put it out there, when you talk about the prospect of people's growth with your people, it's a tell that lets them know how much you're serious about their growth, how much you care about them. It tells them whether they're going to be known, when they're going to be seen, or whether they're just going to be another cog in the machine. It lets them know that they're going to be developed into the best version of themselves, not just used to accomplish company goals. So your efforts to talk about their growth, and even more importantly to deliver it, attracts them and keeps them involved. Well, let me rephrase that. It keeps the best people involved. It turns out that the best people are always looking for opportunities to grow, and so they're driven by that. And if you fail to feed that drive, they'll go looking for it someplace else or with someone else. So leaders that are anemic in providing growth for their people can inadvertently set in motion a sort of migration that can transform their teams for the worst. Because as they're not talking about growth, they're not keeping it in the conversation, they're not emphasizing it in the way they lead, the people that are uncomfortable with that, the best people, the high performers, they choose to leave. The people that are perfectly comfortable with that, the less motivated and lesser performers, well, they stay. And over time, this can flip the script and change the ecosystem of your team. And you might find that you have traded your superstars for slackers. So your emphasis on personal growth, professional development, and building your team actually keeps the best people there, makes them happy to be there, and fills your team with the kind of people that have the ability and the inclination to carry the load. I want you to remember those three things, because there's going to be a time when you have to decide if it's worth stepping into this, if you're worth developing your people or doing the other things on your list, and it's well worth your time and investment.